Hello and welcome to episode 71. Huge episode. Chatty Warner, special guest. Dicko, Praddy, how are we, boys?
Yeah, going well. Just up at Avoca at the moment, but yeah, trying to run away from the Sydney weather.
Gee whiz, what are you doing up there? A little getaway with the Dale.
Yeah, Dale and a couple mates as well from Perth, so head up to Stoddy's house.
Of course, yeah. We'll touch on a bit of that later, Stoddy, and what do you do outside of footy. But Dicko, how's the break been, mate? You've been just here, there, everywhere.
Yeah, good. It's something that the three of you can't comprehend. It's not your fault. Praddy still can't. I know he takes his kid to the zoo every second week, but
you won't believe where I was 35 minutes ago.
You can't
not
be serious.
The zoo.
I was at the zoo with my mate.
With a mate?
Yeah, mate's got 6 months off as well, so he's got a membership, and he's like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Do you want to come to the zoo?" I said, "Sounds good to me. Let's go."
What did you do? Just have a couple of fucking Pepsi Maxes and look at some gorillas?
Had a coffee and saw the lions and saw a tiger and then left.
Fuck.
I knew you'd like that.
Gee whiz. How many times this year have you gone?
10?
Jesus. Anyway, at least you get your membership worth.
100%.
Yeah. Well, I was a travelling zoo. If you got passed by a Ford Everest across the weekend or the last 3 weeks on the Hume Highway, that was us.
What was more painful, the driving or the back-to-back Easter show in Sydney?
The accommodation in Sydney was my mum, God bless her, I love her. Chatty, raised by my mum. Parents divorced. Yeah, she's a great woman. But Emma's saying the mail came from her, the tip to stay wherever we stayed in Sydney. We did back-to-back Easter shows, little like sort of 2/3 half days. Yeah, we walked past the Novotel, past the Royal Ibis, past all those ones that I've seen my whole life growing up, to another 10 minutes to the car, to sit in the car for 20, to get out of the car in traffic for both my kids to urinate in traffic, to get back into the car, to get to some hotel in some place of Sydney I'd never been in my whole life, despite spending 27 years in the city. That was a fucking disaster. But apart from that, the show was actually pretty good.
So where'd you stay?
I still don't know what it was called.
Is it out west or where was it?
Burwood or somewhere like out there, near there.
Yeah, right.
Classic.
Next to Spotless Stadium.
Yeah, you would have thought it was next door, but it actually wasn't. It was 20 minutes from it. So shout out to Di.
Great work, Di.
Massive Wiggles stuff on repeat in the car. If you're a father or a mother out there listening, Wiggletown is actually listenable children's music. It's good. It's some good stuff on there. Praddy's obviously off it because it's not like uncy enough for the great man. But Wiggles was big.
Hang on. Let's wind back. You were on the phone to me the other day when you rang me on Saturday morning, where it was, and it's like you're begging me down the line to go, listen to this song, listen to this song. It's grouse. It's not grouse. I think you've summed it up better there. It's listenable, but you wouldn't say it's grouse. And Emma was giving you nothing in the background when you were trying to convince her, going, "I'm telling Praddy to listen."
No, she loves it. Likes it more than I do.
Fair.
Got the crack in the windscreen, which was a new experience. Which, if you're like me, and car is just basically a mode of transport from point A to point B, and I don't even know how they work. I know my one takes diesel. Cracks aren't anything to worry about. Which, when I was leaving Yass, and I asked Jason, the truck driver at the Yass servo, I said, "Hey, can you come have a look at this?" And he goes, "What, mate?" I said, "Can you come and have a look at this for me, man?" And he goes, "Yeah, righto." Darts it out, plays a bit of passive dart into the car so the kids could get a waft. And he goes, as long as it doesn't affect your eye line, you'll be sweet. And then I start driving, and it was Teddy's worst hour of the whole trip. Roared. And the crack right in front of my eyes is just going bigger and bigger. But if you touch the music, Chatty, the roar could go to fucking supersonic levels. I can't ring anyone. I don't know if it's how dangerous this is. Like, is this going to fucking come back on us or not? And then when we stopped, my cousin was like, "That's completely fine. Don't worry about it." So that if you do get a crack and you're driving and you don't know what you're doing, don't panic. There's all this film and stuff behind the glass that stops it coming in on you. There you go. And that's about it. It was just it was a nice time with the kids, but when you holiday with kids, it's all about the kids.
That's a family wrap of the Dickens holiday.
The Dickens circus.
Went well. Come home with a pocket full of cash as well after the weekend, which is always nice. Paid for the holiday, Dicko?
Well, we paid for it the week before at Mornington, really. Could have bought a brand new caravan if
you should have just bought a new Everest on the way back.
Yeah, well, it's $5,000
That Mornington meet was just a mapping clinic.
100%.
You just forgot to tell some of those jockeys that they need to be just a little pair closer, and it helps a lot in the finish. Yeah, Mornington was great, and then Saturday was tough, but we found a way and we doubled down in the last. And I might have had a bloke with a sore right foot ring me or text me and say, "Should I lay off? Should I lay off?" No, I'd had about 8 or 9 by then, so there's no way to ever tell you to lay off.
Yeah, that's fair. Jeez, it was a good day. On the weekend, Randwick. We'll skim over Randwick and Melbourne. We might touch on a bit more of Ascot and Morphettville, but Randwick was pretty plain meeting. Didn't want to be wide in run. Pretty even across the board, soft 6, so usually plays pretty even, how you'd think it would play. There's a horse in the first that might go all right in the spring called Grand Eagle, I think it was. Back last, hooned home. Keep an eye on that one, but it wasn't much else for the meeting for me. Dicko, what about you?
Good meeting. From a self point of view, like we won a lot of money, but it was tough. We donated in that race in the middle there, Chatty, with not the El Rocco race, but there was Nick Ryan won it with
Dirty Grin.
Dirty Grin. We bet in the morning on expecting a good 4, soft 5, and it was a heavy 8 by then, and I couldn't see a way out of it, and you just had to literally cop the loss. But we found a way. I thought 3 horses out of the meeting that are worth following, and one of these horses is absolutely fascinating. Head of everything at the Mailbags actually hasn't sent out this as an EDM yet, and I haven't put it out on social media, but one of the 3 black bookers is Bow Bay. I thought it was enormous, considering where it was. It's at a stage of prep where it's sort of like now or never, and you get a price. I've written quick backup and a claim equals bet. Since then, because I did that this morning, I've been doing a bit of Warrnambool, and it is in. So, if you see it, you have to back it. If it's not right, they won't run it. The other 2 horses, Deep Float Diva was in the get-along race. They really savaged the line in that race. It was the best of those that weren't up on pace. Really happy with how get-along ran. That was 23k off a 20k purchase to run second, so you've never sweated a photo more in your life as an owner just for a second or a third.
Good last 100. It kept coming lately.
Yeah, I thought D Moore gave it a peach. And
1100 or
1,000 metres, 1100. Not sure. Get along. Either's okay. Sort of looking at the calendar for the horse and where we might want to run it next. There's not a heap of options, so it might be gently back in grade 1100. It looks likely. I want to keep him on tight tracks where his natural speed can be an advantage. The other horse I thought out of the meeting that's well and truly worth following, that Rolls Royce MJ, slow left arm medium from the Pavilion End. He found it. Galileus.
If you go back and watch race 8, the start of that race was fucking chaos. There was 6 wide for about 600 metres around the tight first turn at the Valley after the winning post, and it was out the back, flushed and flew home. It made contact with one of the other runners as well, with I think it was Sunsets at the 350, and kept finding the line. So no, it's a definite black booker. And
it was a messy race.
I reckon you want to see it either at 2,000 at least, if not go up a little bit in distance, and want to see a strong rider on. And I reckon you don't even think about it. You just back it.
Any questions, boys, about Moonee Valley before we head to Morphettville?
It was a nice day.
What do you do with those? It rained during the race. Obviously, do you just trust your maps and then look to bet into your maps, or do you usually just completely pull up stumps and call it a day?
Oh, you just got to wing it and have a real good process to chaos. So you process just like it'd be the same for these two with their football. When it goes to shit, you got to go back to your structures and blah blah blah, and don't force it. Rule number 1. So we were lucky. We got another piece of information that sort of confirmed what I thought, which was handy because I was at a pub, wasn't in the shed grinding. Because we had a runner in race 4, was a really good stage of the day to get a post race from a jockey, and we were able to ask him for a track sort of read, and then that confirmed it was pretty heavy. So that's why we then backed El Rocco. I couldn't see a way out of that other race, as I mentioned before, and then I just thought, fuck it, let's double down on Waimarie. It's the map horse, it's the wet horse. I really liked its setup. So, structure, process, don't force it. I think at this time of year, Sydney, Melbourne, particularly where you've got your sort of lower grade riders with your benchmark horses, you got to sort of have less bets but bigger bets.
Nice, lovely, mate. We'll go to Morphettville, where a fair few good riders. The King Kong, Mark Zara, the in and out job. ×2 Group 1s. He's too good.
Straight on the socials too.
And the thing in the fucking second, Jesus Christ, that pissed in.
Yeah,
that was proper.
He's won that. Growing Empire won that race last year. Legacy Bound. Nice.
Tommy, about, I'd say 2 or 3 lengths better last year, Growing Empire, but only 2 or 3 lengths better, same race last year, than that winner.
Legacy Bound's the horse.
Yeah, very good win. What do you want to touch on? Do you want to touch on the Group 1s or anything? We'll touch on... I
thought Charmstone was enormous. I think Charmstone's always promised a fair bit. It's a horse that's had good ability, has raced in Melbourne, has gone down to your better races, Tom, and done a decent job. But like they paid a ton. They pay a ton. If you see a horse run around in these silks, it's often a filly or a mare. They pay when Chatty's out there at Warwick Farm, Sebastian come over and say, look, if that guy, keep an eye on him for this horse, because if he starts bidding, it's going to touch $1 million maybe. It's what's his Seamus Mills bloodstock. Buys a lot of expensive fillies at the yearling sales. She would have cost a ton. She's always promised a little bit, and now absolute job done for them. So they've won a heap of money, and she's now worth even more.
They spent $1.55 million on it in Gold Coast 2022.
Third highest horse at that sale.
Interest in the track, Dicko. Look to the 600. You wanted to be 3-4 off the fence, getting to wider in the straight as well. So that's what Benagil did. The speed was on. Zara absolute peach, but blew him away. It was just got to the right lanes.
I think you can jump at shadows, but there's a pearl there at the same time. You noticed Mark Zara's ride on the good horse early in the day, led but hang off fence and got off fence and straight.
Yeah,
that's a little bit of a hey guys, this is where I think the lane is.
Yeah, and it if they see somebody like Mark Zara doing it, Dicko, that they're more likely to follow Hay because he is the King Kong and he knows what's going on. If he's going to be that far off the fence, there's others that are going to follow suit.
100%.
Yep.
It'll be that Benagil's going to be interesting to see what Thompson does. Go to Queensland. I think it's his last 2 runs are huge. Behind Treasure of the Moment. I don't know what Doomben Cup is it? How far is that?
No, they're going to the Oaks. It's either the Oaks or the Derby in Queensland. It's like $9 into $4.50 this morning.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
pretty good indication.
There you go. You'd think it's going there, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then race 6, our foreman at Morphettville, P-Rat, found one in race 6, Zloties.
Yeah. It was pretty simple though, wasn't it? Perhaps after watching it win at Bendigo.
Yeah, it was a huge win last start. Unsuited.
And you did go like that one. Yeah, you're welcome, mate.
Got the bob. Geez, on display was a moral beating.
That's a $1.1 million yearling for Seamus on display.
Really?
It beat Grouse Mountain at Ballarat to win its maiden, and it's the horse. If you boys remember, we took like 40s.
Yeah.
And it savaged it at Caulfield and just missed.
Yeah, I remember that day.
Oh, still gives me fucking shivers. Anyway, sorry.
Our Chatty in the group chat. Well, you were on Amina, weren't you? X-Man was on Amina. You would have been a bit sick there, about $18.
Yeah, I backed that couple other things, and I forgot I was actually on that in the morning. And then I saw it spearing through, and then something outside in the better ground just got it. But definitely want to follow that price anyway. I think I don't know if you mentioned as well. I know it won, but if you talk about Regal Asmon as well, because that was probably one of the biggest wins I've ever seen.
Big weight,
personally.
What was the? That was race
1.
Race 1. Yeah, that was big back from last as well. Eh?
Yeah, pushed about 7-1, then probably lost how many lengths off the bend.
Yeah, that was a good
and it's
win
also like out in like. It looks in hindsight like it's in the right lanes, but it's race 1.
Yeah.
Like it's the only thing that was in like lane 9 at the 600. Lane 3 at the 600. It was the only thing in lane 10 at the 400. It's the other horse in that race. Is that the
It was the Aaron Bay race.
Aaron Bay. Like that's a nice enough horse.
Yeah,
it's
Aaron Bay cut the corner and got to run through as well.
Yeah.
Having a chat to Mark Zara. He was straight out of Adelaide, and that goes to show there's not much in Adelaide for him to go out for lunch.
Righto, here you go.
He
it's not the only thing you've got in common with Jack Higgins, let me tell you.
He's there's no Mimis or Coogee Pavilions at Adelaide, so he was straight out of there and straight to Melbourne, or Toddies. But So Mark's Irish King Kong in and out job, and not sure what's on next weekend. We any Ascot? What is it?
No, it's the start of the Queensland Carnival next
Queensland
week.
Carnival, will probably be up there, will he?
Yeah.
No, I think there's still
There's a good race in Adelaide.
there's still some pretty good racing in Adelaide. Like there's another big Group 1. I think next weekend in South Australia is the South Australian Derby, and the Saturday after is the Goodwood. So there's still 2 good weeks of racing over there in Adelaide.
Yeah, but it all starts to heat up in Queensland too. I know that their carnival does kick off this week. It's always the first week in May. Dicko, did you watch much else at Morphettville? Reserve Bank getting the job done again?
Yeah, watched that. To be honest, after I got the get along report, and if I had been at home, I honestly would have priced the whole Morphettville meeting in like 2 hours just to bet the last 4 races, done the last 4 races, because we were just going to back Waimarie and pray.
Yeah.
But I was out in the town. The town was in Albury, so I didn't. Because there's a lot of Victorian horses and Victorian form in Adelaide, and as you proved, Praddy, if you did the work, you could find a result. I watched a lot of them, and I watched everything but maybe even watched the last race, but I don't remember it in Perth. So I watched more horses probably than normal.
I couldn't believe when there was a message in the WhatsApp from you saying, "Geez, can't wait till Saloon Bar runs." I'm like, what's going on here? Is this Jack Dickens or Tom Papley I'm reading here? What the fuck's going on here?
You were saying, I've got Western Empire into Waimarie. I'm like, what the hell is going on? You are pissed. Let's go to Perth.
Chatty, take away. What happened?
Chatty can take away.
Yeah.
Ascot, what do you notice, Ascot?
Yeah, we had a few bets there. I hit up Big Terry Layton beforehand. The boys love his mail, perhaps especially.
Tezza.
I think usually it's just really reliant on sea breeze at Ascot, which is, I guess it kind of makes it easier later in the day. Swoopers usually fly home, as we saw in the Quokka. But I think early on, it kind of didn't really play as Ascot does. Kind of a few things came from the back. And then I think one I kind of wanted to follow up was one of Terry's ones, Shooting Spirit. So that ran third over the 1200. And I think if I'm watching the replay now, they kind of got out pretty hard. But the winner, Camera Action, which kills me to say it, but Coxie actually got tipped that and gave the mail to us boys, and then he was bloody tooting his horn after that. But yes, that's that settled about 2 pairs in front of Shooting Spirit. Shooting Spirit drew wide, had to go pretty much straight back, and then from there got a pretty decent run through off the bend. But I think over, I reckon 1400, maybe even up to a mile, Shooting Spirit would be a good one to follow.
Do you find, Chatty, that it's different? So, like in each state, each jurisdiction. So I look at that horse now and I think, Jesus Christ, it's been up for a while as a horse to follow.
Yep.
But I know, say in Adelaide, it's not the same as Melbourne. Like you want to find this sort of horse as an example.
Yeah, well, I think it's a good point. I think even this one that I own, has been above the peg. It's really been up for a long time now. I think the Perth horses, I'm not sure, like you said, with the difference. I'm not sure if there is a factor or not that affects that. But I think a lot of them do stay up for a lot longer over there. Once again, I'm not sure why, but that is what I've noticed.
Yeah, I don't know why it is in Melbourne the other way, to be honest. It's like, I don't care either, we just know it works, so we roll with it.
Exactly.
But it's certainly a theme, is it, over there, that the deeper into a prep is not so much of a concern. You're just looking for a bit of juice from a sort of not suited run.
Yeah, exactly. I guess if we want to talk about the Quokka, I guess probably more close to my heart, this one, the Boss Lady. I just love that horse, and one of my good mates, his dad does the bloodstock for them. He's a big owner. Michael Lane trains. He's got all my horses too. She's just a massive trier, and I think still ran a pretty commendable race in the Quokka. I think ran about 5th or 6th and copped a pretty big bump from Headwall as they straightened, and Headwall probably had a little bit on it. But yeah, I think following that up, that was his first up run on the weekend in the Quokka. But that won 4 in a row prior and just finds the line each time. I think they made a funny joke saying about if you put it in a maiden out in Bunbury, it'd probably win by a nose as well. It just knows where the line is and just finds it. But I think that'll be a great one to follow as well.
Overpass, Dicko. I think read that Pete mentioned something on his write-up with Overpass. It was a huge peak first up in the TJ, went massive, and it's obviously now they've come from the back here, but it actually wasn't as fast as I thought it would go. They've gone 4 lengths faster. To the eye, it looked like they were absolutely humming, and they're fanned that wide. What are your thoughts on the peak run, going to WA, and then it's obviously dropped off that peak run? Is that something you take into account as well?
I don't like backing a horse, like falling into a horse off a peak. So It's not so much that the horse won't do it again, but it's priced like it's done it. And we want to try and find the horse that's going to peak, not that did peak last start. It's got a serious bank of ratings now, so if it does spike, I'd be nervous about that horse next time. But it did start $2 here.
Yeah, I think in light of that one with the overpass, I was saying before, because Joker's Grin obviously came from the back, a couple others came from the back. I think it is that real classic pattern, kind of at the end of the day when that sea breeze comes in. Pretty much race 7, 8, 9, usually every meeting at Ascot, you're pretty safe to back those ones coming from the back. So the leaders do have it a bit tough up there.
Is it a horse, do we know what the plan is with this horse moving forward? Does it stay in Perth and run in something else? Because it'd be interesting for me if it did, off a $2 SP, not suited versus race shape and bias at the time.
Usually, last year, it's, hang on, let me get it up.
I'm looking at it and I can see, it's running Ascot. It's ended its last 3 preps in Ascot, and now it's running Ascot here in its 4th prep, so I'd guess it's it. But it's only second up, so...
Yeah, well, what's it say? Did it after last year's Quokka? What did it do?
It went to Doomben. One time I went to the Doomben 10,000. Started $16 and ran second at Giga Kick.
Yeah, last year's Quokka spelled after it was first up into the Quokka, then spelled.
And then the previous year it won the Quokka and went to the Doomben 10,000. So maybe that's the play.
Oh yeah, might do that. Yeah. Born, you won't question him at the moment, but the other horse, obviously we touched on Headwall, but it's flying. It probably those both went wide. Good run. That's improved massively this prep. It's going to be interesting to see how that horse comes back in the spring. What do they do with it? Do they go to the Everest? Does it keep improving? How many runs has it had? It's had 17 career starts, but it has improved dramatically this prep. Last prep, it was running in benchmark 85s at Doomben, and then it wins a Group 3 at Kembla. So massive prep for that horse. See if it can go on with it in the spring.
It's an enormous prep. Remember it started $31 behind Jimmy Starr in the Oakley Plate, and it was that just a fluke?
And it was slightly held up, and then it was the TJ Smith runs would have finished half a length off him if it got a run.
What about Western Empire, Chatty?
Yeah, I think Western Empire actually did really like going into the race. I think on the day when he looked kind of pikey, actually chucked in a really good spot. That 3-wide cover line at Ascot really works well. I think later in the day usually with that pattern, but I think as Headwall did as well, kind of got smashed on the bend as they came around and fanned out pretty wide. But I think when it copped that hit, I'm not sure how much it had under it, but it seemed to kind of fold up a little bit there, and was not quite as good as I thought it would be through the line.
There's another one in race 9 that Pikey was on. What was it called, Dicko? Saloon Bar.
Saloon Bar, which
you want to touch on that, mate?
I watched real closely. I had a bit of Waimarie into Saloon Bar action going on, and we might have even sort of squared up the account as well, just Saloon Barred it, and to my eye, whatever you reckon that's worth, I thought we had a stack of pony at the 800, the 900, and I said, boys, we're smoking here. And then, it's interesting, Chad sort of identified, it's obviously local knowledge that the wider grounds where you want to be, particularly this time of day, and that would indicate also that's where the previous winner came from. That's where we were sort of headed. And then to my eye, the old anti-vaxxer Pikey sort of veered left when he could have sort of just kept on that straight line to the... I think
as we spoke about before, it's a little bit of a trend where he tries to go through. But I think getting that run in transit was alright, but having those kind of that horse inside you and horse outside you in transit, I'm not sure how much they like that anyway. Yeah,
it's like he went for the miracle run instead of just waiting for his turn to savage the line, which he looked like he was going to do. The horse went to the line, or to my eye, untested, and the stewards report doesn't give a heap away other than that Jockey Pike said that the stewards deemed that there was a number of contributing factors involved in the incident, and Jockey Pike was cautioned in relation to permitting his mounts to improve into restricted room.
Yeah. When I was watching the replay now, and I think come around the bend, you can see but like you said, I think when he tried to come inside, if he waited for that turn outside, what happened was he kind of got shuffled back, maybe a pair or two around the bend, which I think might have been a little bit of a result of trying to take that inside run. Whereas I don't know if he stayed a bit wider, maybe trailed a few into it.
It kind of looked like he might have wanted to go inside from the 1,000.
Yeah, no,
which would be weird.
That's exactly what I think it looked like. And then in turn got shuffled probably one or two pairs back after that.
Old Willie Pike.
Can't wait till he comes back to Melbourne again. He came for one day.
But what do you reckon, boys? Racing, anything other you noticed around the country? Doomben, Eagle Farm. Geez, what was that horse that absolutely carved up folk? Well, the horse outside you, Dicko, what was it called?
I don't want to spend the whole episode going through fucking Stewart's reports, but I'd love to read that one too. I won't, because there's no need to torture myself, but I believe it was Ron Stewart, and it was beaten about 20 lengths. I think it was Ron Stewart because I asked you guys, because I was about to have a meltdown. I really was. Like,
which race was that again?
The Brisbane Stakes or something, race 8, the mile, 300k race, $5 into 340, an avalanche of cash, jump, travel, everything's going plan. What's this? This guy's not. He's not. He fucking is. He's just going to roll across and slaughter his horse and fuck us at the same time. And he did it. And
I'll have a look at replay now. I actually didn't watch that.
And full credit, Tony Gollan, too good. Once again, hard to beat at home, and just folk.
Yeah, jumped really well.
Yeah, really well.
Yeah, watch the thing outside it.
It was.
Anyway,
it was really, really tough to watch, and
he was tough late though, and he good bloody won.
How'd he run where he ran? Hey.
No, but anyway, I reckon that will do for racing. Do we want to touch on some AFL or NRL before we get into chatty?
Oh well, we're gonna have to touch on fucking you blokes eventually.
Yeah.
Oh, that was another horrific car ride experience, eh? I listened to this patchy fucking snowed like telecast. I don't know who it was. It wasn't like normal. And life was good. First quarter, Jesus Christ, when Chad touches it, they just erupt. Heaney, Chad, they love. If a lizard gets involved, these boys loved it. And life was great. And then at about half time, I had to like switch back to the Wiggles just for the last drive through Melbourne. Got home and turned TV on. We hadn't kicked another fucking point. What happened?
Yeah, it was. I think, like you said, we started really well. Which, I think that first quarter was probably one of the best we've played, maybe of the year. But even I think it reminded me a lot of how we kind of did play last year. And I think obviously come out in that second quarter and the third quarter. I think myself and the other mids, we kind of got beaten a fair bit in the midfield there, and it kind of really kick-started their game. I think they're a big clearance to score and centre bounce to score team. So I think losing those kind of ones at the start of each quarter really hurt us there.
Do you guys feel like the pressure's now sort of off though to an extent, and that might sort of trigger a bit of a relaxation in stress and just like let it flow and play a bit more free-flowing footy?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I can speak on behalf of the other boys, but I think, it's a good point you make. I think we're kind of going up into that first quarter being up by, maybe 4 or 5 goals it was. I think maybe we kind of did feel a bit of that pressure of trying to hold on to that lead, especially compared to how we usually play. I think last year, especially when we kind of come from behind a lot more. But yeah, I think I definitely feel like the shackles can definitely be off a fair bit more, which is great. I think when you're up, you need to still play with that freedom. I think it's the main thing that costs you when you're up is, I guess, trying to save the game. And that's, I think, what we did.
Are the heralds of your life? I know the Pap will be doing it to the Cross. I don't know who Millsy does it to. He's now a leader. He probably shouldn't. But are they sort of saying, Jesus Christ, you boys are missing me?
Yeah, I know. Well, Errol kind of hits here and there, but I think it's more me saying to him, to be honest. And just feeling his ego. But I think we were talking about the other day, I think his ball use is one thing, but his defensive run, the amount that he sets up our structure and how big he is to our structure, I think is probably the main thing that's hurting us. I think his ball use, like I said as well, speaks for itself, but I think that's actually not even the most important part. I think it's one, the structure, but two, how much the opposition have to worry about him. And when they don't have that factor at the moment, I think it's a lot easier for him.
It's the thing. I think as well, if you look at Chatty, like Corey's going really well. And we've got Corey, Doug, Tommy Hannelly, some guys that have probably played less than 20 games. And when you pull me, Millsy, Errol, even Tay and Foxy out of a team that's nearly probably 500 games of experience.
I think Logan, you had
Logan as well.
Logan, Joel, key pillars.
It's a lot of games of experience, and you throw guys, 3 or 4 guys in that have played less than 20 games. It does throw some structure and some cohesion, I suppose, and some rhythm in your team. And guys like, I think, Will Hayward, that's used to me having him there in the forward line, or Joel in there in the forward line, they're trying to create rhythm with these younger guys, and they just don't have the same connection. So we'll improve, but we've got a bit of work to do, and we'll get to work. A bit like what you said before, Dicko. When things aren't going well, you go to your processes, and we've certainly been doing that the last week or two.
Yeah, because like, my point of view, once like Punts and I sort of have a bit of a private sort of tantrum. Keep that away from you guys. But once you calm down, you couldn't have had a harder draw. Like, you don't get to games where you go, this is a soft game. So if you're an inch off, you're getting beat, and it's so results like driven. You know what I mean? You weren't out of any games except for probably Saturday.
Yeah, I think Saturday, and then the Collingwood game, I think, were the only two that we got ourselves out of it, and that was more kind of the second half as well, really. Both of them. But yeah, I think it's a good point you make. When you look at the ones before that, we beat Freo, who I think are doing pretty well at the moment, to be honest. And then, like you said, those couple that we lost were right in it, and I think kind of faded at the end. But I think the good thing is we haven't really, I guess, done stuff that you kind of look at and you're like, gee, this is really, really bad. So we kind of need to do, like you said, our process for longer, and be able to keep it consistent.
Perhaps do you, because you're obviously watching, and you didn't travel on Sunday, do you have much of an influence when you go into the club today and talking to the boys and the forwards about how they potentially moved or what they could have done better, or do you sit back and let the coaches handle that?
Today's different. Tomorrow there'll be a bit of that. But I was in there with Coxie and Monty today. I did my training stuff, and then I went into Mont and had a chat to him. Monty was our forward coach, Eamon Buchanan. And just chatted about what's going on and what happened and things like that. But yeah, I think tomorrow, especially with such a young forward line, I'm still pretty vocal, even though I'm not playing and things like that. So it's pretty important to help the guys and show them vision and running patterns and things like that. We've got some experienced guys that are out, like Tay Adams is really good with that stuff as well. So it's about educating and talking to them, and because it's not easy playing a forward role when your team's not going that well or you're inexperienced. It's probably one of the hardest positions when you're young and your team's not going well. So
man, I feel sick that you're mini-me. Like, it's a really crook scenario to sort of like cut your teeth on. The expectation is so high. There's like this freak, like you are a star, that he's like, look, like everyone watching thinks, oh, it's him, and the team's not going near as good as it has gone. So
yeah.
I think that obviously when you add trying to keep your spot in the team as well,
exactly. Yeah, for sure. That's a good point.
Yeah, I think that's probably, like you were saying perhaps before, with us having younger players in at the moment. I think it's one thing with the structures and that, but I think being able to kind of get out of your own head about spots and keeping your spot, I think that's the hardest thing to do.
Yeah, for sure. It's a great point.
Tell you, like, the highlight of the last 3 weeks for me, which I never thought I'd say, was Wicks. Just like fuck.
He's been good, hasn't he?
Did he miss because of that head knock?
Nah, he had a little calf on Thursday. He'll hopefully be back next week. Yeah, but yeah, he has been good, hasn't he?
Like, just the way he hit that pack, whoever it was against Port, like that was.
Yeah. He's just got all the attributes that are perfect for that exact position, which is why I think Coxie copped it like a bit in the media with putting Tommy up forward. Like, it kind of pissed me off a fair bit when because they say that, but then he moves Wixie down back, which was his idea, and it's one of the best moves of the year, and you don't hear about it. So that kind of annoyed me a little bit.
Yeah, but there's not a tall forward that's going well.
Yeah,
Like,
mate,
it's not like
what's he meant to do? Especially, like I said, when he's had such success in moving Wixie back.
Yeah, bloody oath. It's a great call, Chatty.
Yeah.
Anything else from the game, boys, or footy that you noticed?
Yeah, I want to know, what's the Liz going to be like when he struts around and goes, boys, it's just the two big sticks in front of you and you just kick goals when you get sent forward. What's his, is he going to have a bit of swagger walking around the club tomorrow?
I'd just roll
what?
the Port Adelaide vision if he started doing that. It's amazing, like, blokes that can just... I bet you the lizard off no steps could, like, hit a bin at 50 metres.
Easy.
And then when he's running flat out at the goals, he'll be... No, I don't think Liz will be strutting in when we've got done by 10 goals.
Yeah, fair.
You would hope so, at least.
What do you guys think of the AFL overall at the moment? Collingwood seem just to be humming along. They've also knocked over 2 away games. It just seems to be a season where, like, literally down to you guys, everyone's sort of a chance of causing an upset or winning on a weekend, any given weekend. I mean, poor Adelaide look gone. They look very hard to beat. They actually look like a team, Tom, that you would love to play against. I would love to play against them. They look like niggly and a little bit nasty. There's a bit of in there. Is that right?
Yeah. Port Adelaide been good the last couple of weeks. I think, sort of to back up our point of players out, you look at, he's a very different, I suppose he's similar to Errol in a way, for class, but I think when Bont comes into a team, you realise what a star does to your team. Bulldogs the last 2 weeks have looked unstoppable really against some good sides, so I think the Bulldogs, Bevo's done really well. They've got some injuries as well, and the last 2 weeks with Bont in their side, they've looked different units, so they're probably the ones that over the next month or so you keep an eye on.
I think you said it a couple of weeks ago, perhaps it's the start of the season, like you got to let sides settle into it, whether it's a couple of different players that have come in or gone out. Like Port Adelaide is 100% a good example of that. They've started to finally play the footy that we probably all thought they should have been playing at the start of the year.
Yeah, well, Butter's come back into that side as well, and he makes a big difference.
Yeah,
Jeez, he's got a lot of go about him, eh?
He's good, isn't he?
Yeah. Who do you like the most, Chad, outside of the obvious? Which team impresses you? Which team's growth and progression from year to year has like sort of got you gone, yeah, they're going good?
Yeah, well, I think probably the number one for me is Adelaide at the moment. I think they lost to Geelong maybe the other day, and then they lost to Freo on the weekend. But I think prior to that, the amount of improvement they've shown, I think obviously Dorso as the captain's really, I guess, taking charge and kind of, was he All-Australian a couple of years ago, and I think he's kind of back to that form, which is great. Dilthorpe up forward is probably one of the scariest key forwards going around at the moment, I reckon. I think he kicked 5 a couple of weeks ago, and I think even on the weekend against Freo, kicked 3 with a finger that broke and split out of his skin.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think he's really, really scary for them, which is great. And then Tex, obviously with his age, is still dominating, but I think they've been the real improvers.
Rankin in the midfield as well.
What is in the water?
Slick.
What is in the water in Adelaide, and why are they so thick? Like, why have they got so many thick individuals?
Yeah.
They are built like trucks, the lot of them.
Boggity.
Fogarty's girthy. Got a bit of the poor pleasures about him.
Yeah.
Poor pleasure. Shit, there's a
For
name
those,
for
that,
that.
for those that are old enough.
At Sydney when we had Gouldy, Gouldy's from the same place as Darcy Fogarty as well, down at Lucendale. So I think there's something there.
They literally though, I have a lot of family from Adelaide, from the Bay, and they do take the tap water, like I think, and you can confirm this perhaps because you've got family there too. It comes out of the Mighty Murray.
I wouldn't have a clue, mate, but it does the
Like, you need a filter to drink the tap water is what I'm saying, Adelaide, and maybe
mate, you do. It
maybe
tastes
you
like
don't.
shit, the water there.
My dad had a dog, Rex. Never washed it once. It got fed like fucking anything. I was lucky to get fed sometimes. The over-under on Rex when like he was 6 years old, because he's just with Dad, was like a 10.5, you know? He had a bucket of water in the backyard, a plastic bucket that dripped tap water into it. There was mould in it. That's all he drank. He lived to 17.
Jesus.
Jeez.
It's ridiculous.
Jesus Christ.
Shout out to
Something in
Sinner.
there. What anything else, boys? Taking interest over the weekend?
For me, no.
Big derby this week against the Giants. 2 teams coming off a poor loss, so it'll be a big week for both the Sydney sides. Should be a cracker.
Where's that at?
SCG.
Ooh.
Sunday Arvo.
What time's kickoff? Do you get to look into the sun for 2.5
Yeah, I
quarters,
think
or
they
what?
have, yeah, it's 1 o'clock. Is it?
I think it might be right. The 1 o'clock game's usually a bit earlier than it.
What is it? Is it Arvo?
No, it's 1 o'clock game.
I was having
Yeah.
this chat before with a mate. Can you guys talk about playing a 3:20 game in Sydney, and does it have a serious effect on the quality of the football? Because
Right.
half the time you're staring directly into the sun.
I reckon those games need to be cancelled at the SCG and the Gabba. Like it's ridiculous. It honestly ruins everything. To be honest, I think.
Yeah. It does. It's actually amazing that like they've seriously got to look into it. Until you're actually like playing, you can't see on the other side. If you're
Yeah.
on the far wing, it's
It
the
looks-
opposite side of the members. It's
When you're watching it, it looks like the footy's half flat.
Yeah.
yeah, and like it's actually it costs you reaction times and things like that. It's just anyway, it is poor. But I think the Sunday Arvos and afternoon games gets a lot more of the Swans fans there. I think that's why the club sort
Yeah.
of gets those games.
They love using it as a kind of something then to go out after.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is good. Like, it makes sense. What a circ.
Righto, should we get into Chatty?
Let's do it.
Little interview over the last few years. If you haven't, we'll just touch on the last few, Chatty. If you haven't heard Chatty's sort of upbringing and where it all started for Chatty, about his brothers and where he's from, there's a earlier episode, I don't know, Pratty, you'd have to find out what the number is, but probably about 8 months ago, even 12 months ago, about where he started and things like that. But
Does that feature
now-
a
episode-
miracle on a golf course in a hub?
Yeah, they would have.
Yeah,
Episode 22, if you want to go back and have a listen to it.
There you go.
episode 22, there you go. But this one we'll just touch on the last few years, how he's become one of the premium players in the competition, and then obviously the contract last week. But Chatty, we'll start with touch on probably I think it was a 2021 pre-season, so coming into year 2022. Do you want to touch on what you went and did over the off-season? You come back a different beast in that pre-season, and let the listeners know what you sort of did to be able to get to where you are now.
Yeah, I think it was kind of, I guess, a couple of things combined, but the main thing was, I guess, realising what type of running I need to be doing, and the S&C coaches helped a lot with that. It was more my power running and, I guess, speed, and I guess repeat efforts like that. And myself and I guess Corey obviously wasn't drafted at the time yet, but my manager actually knew a really good sprint coach over in Perth. His name's Mark Neitz. He's a great fella, and he used to actually do Ben Cousins back in the day too. So he has a fair bit of credibility, which is great. Yeah, so we pretty much just saw him the whole off season. Kind of the few off seasons since then, we've done the exact same thing, and I honestly think that's been the biggest change in my game. I guess to be able to kind of put yourself at a different attributes to other players. And I think with the way that myself and even Corey do play, I think it's really pivotal in giving us success.
Did you come to that thought yourself, or was that through the strength and conditioning coaches that said, hey, mate, to take your game to the next level, we think that you can work on your anaerobic running and that'll be your big strength?
Yeah, well, I think they kind of more, I guess, pushed me in the direction of what, I guess, my strengths kind of were, which my strengths kind of were that power running and stuff, but I think making it elite was the goal, and making it elite was how, I guess, I was going to go from strength to strength, really. And so, yeah, I kind of went to a manager and around Perth and just sourced it out myself. And I think having that drive is probably the main thing. I think on top of the training, having that drive is the main thing that I kind of pride myself on as well.
Has the Swans, or if they haven't, has Neaty upped his rates, or is he on retainer? How's that work? Because
Well,
I'd be sort of doing this. I'd do a deal where I secured his services for the group or for the
Yeah, well, he used to do a bit with the Eagles, and then I think Richmond, and then I think, to be honest, now he doesn't really want to do any big groups. He's getting a little bit older, but he's keen to just do all the boys when they come back to Perth individually. So I think it's a lot more chill for him. But I think after his recent success, he does Paddy Cripps as well, obviously Cole Brownlows, and for a bloke at that size to be able to move the way he does, I think shows how successful Neatsy is. And I think maybe in a few years' time, when he gets that advertising up, he might need to push the prices a bit.
I might have to come over and spend the off season in Perth. The way the names you've mentioned there: Cousins, Warner, Cripps.
I don't ever get much sprint training in.
Touch on what you actually go through. What actually, you say sprint training, but what actually do you actually do? Like, do you put parachutes behind you? You run with weights on?
Yeah.
What do you actually do?
Yeah, it's a lot of different stuff. It's the stuff you mentioned, kind of maybe I don't know, the third session that you do might be a session instead of parachutes, it's a tire. So you kind of use that. The most you'll ever do is about 40 meters. That's kind of your first run. You kind of works on your technique, getting that down pat. And then pretty much from there, it's, just reps, getting real speed reps in, making sure your technique is right. I think that's the main thing. And then plyometrics. He's really big on plyometrics, which is those explosive kind of body weight exercises that I do a fair bit. You might see me in the gym doing them.
Mm. It's funny you say the technique. If you want to have a look at a beautiful horse running a little gallop, if you want to have a look at a nice, just beautiful, easy running style, watch Chatty do a few run-throughs before training and it's just gliding.
I think Corey,
it looks like he's barely trying.
Yeah, I think Corey's probably better to look at for that even.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, I think
Just on that, Chad.
That kind of technique is what he teaches really.
How would you describe Tom's action?
It's fast. It is fast, but I reckon
Really,
I think that's why him and Lizard, I reckon it shows how quick they could be if they sort it out. I reckon, but it's
Yeah.
quick. I think it works for him though because he's low to the ground. But maybe a few pointers at training next week when he's back running.
oh yeah. So the 2000 so you have that massive off season, have a huge pre-season. Like coming into that year, I was like, gee whiz, Chatty Warner's is on this year. You dominated pre-season and you built yourself up. You made all Australian squad, probably a really breakout year. Averaged 23 disposals, kicked 20 goals, goal assist a game, 7 scoring involvements, and easily the best player in the grand final as a young player for us on a tough day. And then in 2023, you mentioned you did a lot of training with Corey, had another very consistent year. What's it like to play with your brother? He debuted in 2023. Was that a pretty special moment for you and the family?
Yeah, it was amazing. I think the great part was we were able to play in Adelaide for gather round against Richmond. So it's pretty close for the family to travel over. But yeah, it's something that's very rare, as you see in AFL. I think Corey, seeing him become strength to strength from that day, I guess, to now as well, I guess makes myself very proud too, as well as mum and dad, to see how much drive he has as well.
What were you laughing at, Nico?
I just sort of figured out, Chad, why Tom's brought this up. I think he's had 22 touches and kicked 6.
26 and 6.
Yeah. He did, didn't he? You Joe the Gooses out the back.
Yeah. And I kicked him for his first goal assist, mate.
Yeah, he did. He doesn't just kick him, he gives them away.
Yeah, that night he did everything. No, he is actually, perhaps is the score involvement like king versus touch. There's yourself, Isaac, big numbers but big disposals. He doesn't need to touch it much and he gets it done along with the crust. What's the biggest positives about playing with your brother? Is it more so the job with your brother, working with your brother, getting to live in Sydney with your brother?
Yeah, I think it's really more the lifestyle and living part. Having a bit of family over here and I guess how close we are as well. That's probably the biggest thing. And I think, like I said before, being able to, I guess, see the strengths that he's acquired and how much he's improved over the years kind of gives you a bit of self-fulfillment as well. It's really nice to see.
Yeah, it was going to be a question later, but Jasmine Kerner on Instagram actually wrote in a question. Has playing with your brother made you closer as a brother bond?
Yeah, I actually think so, to be honest. I think maybe closer in a different way. I think we're always really close competitive-wise and I guess mates-wise, but I think it kind of makes you closer. We can have, I don't know, we have a lot more, I guess, deep and honest conversations now. He comes, I guess, coming to me for help maybe with your game and stuff like that. Yeah, it definitely does make you a lot closer.
Is it easier for you, say, if young Hanley or another younger footballer sort of did a little bit of a chin on the chest or had a little peek, you might just, come on, mate, be better. Whereas if it was your brother, you just like fucking cop this.
Yeah, I think it's probably a good point you make. I think like you said, I probably would have been like that more at the start, and I think Pat's and our personality is a little bit the same. I think I would kind of be harsh, blow up a bit at the start, but I think the way that Corey goes about it, he's a lot different to me, and I think me learning and seeing that kind of helps deal with other players as well, and realise that you kind of need a bit more tender loving care and stuff like that as well to get your word across.
And then obviously last year, mate, you All Oz, unbelievable season. 35 goals, average 24, half forward All Australian. What do you think? Did you expect from sort of the last few years? Did you expect to be become one of the most influential players in the comp, most powerful and players in the comp?
Yeah, I'm not sure if I expected to, go as high as last year. And I think probably the main thing I didn't expect was, I guess, how powerful the training with Neatsy and stuff like that, I guess, worked. I think the confidence that he gives you to just run and, just take anyone. I think I kind of last year especially felt that I could literally just look at anyone and just run straight past them. But yeah, I never really thought, I think, that I'd get to that level at all. But kind of being at that level now, I really enjoy it and just want to keep pushing it further, to be honest.
It's actually amazing because you see it in Corey as well now. Like he started doing it in pre-season, just running at blokes and fending them off, and now he's slowly just getting better and better. And then obviously sees you do it, and I think that he's taking confidence from seeing you do it. He's like, why can't I do it? So it's actually amazing that you've put the work in, and then you see it live is a real credit to you. But obviously last year the pressure of obviously your contract, you were one of the better players, getting tagged, media expectation. You're pretty sort of nothing really fazing you too much. But did you ever feel the pressure and sort of the media getting into you about your contract and things like that? How did you sort of turn it away and keep getting on with your job and playing well?
Yeah, I think with all that stuff, most of the time, like you said, I think I just go with the flow and doesn't really affect me too much. Last year with all the contract stuff, and even this year, I don't know, I think all that noise and stuff like that, I actually really enjoy, and I really like using it as fuel, which, I think kind of helps me play a bit of footy. I think this year, when I came back from Perth, we played against Freo and came back and decided I want to stay at the club and kind of told the club I want to start working on it. And obviously there was a lot of noise this year and I was kind of really using that as fuel. And I think when I came back from Perth and decided that I wanted to stay and told the club that, I don't know, I think kind of after that was the only times I was actually really affected in those couple of games. I kind of was running out, not really thinking about much, kind of floating around. And I think I just needed that extra bit of maybe something to play for each week and that bit of motivation that I think, because I was using it so much with the contract, I just need to reassess and find a new one after that.
That's fascinating.
What was the turning point like? You obviously come back from Perth, you beat Freo. Was there like a, I don't know, thing that come in your mind? It's like, I want to stay for a few more, and I don't know, who knows what goes from there. But
that's a silly question. We know the answer to this.
Yeah, I think in all honesty, I reckon pre-season coming back, I guess over Christmas, when I came back in January, I was very 50-50 to be honest, and it could have definitely gone either way. But I think the pre-season I've had here, the way I think everyone's kind of really, I guess through the pre-season, really flourishing and bonding together with the new system, and I guess just the new philosophies and stuff like that. I think that kind of made me lean more Sydney's way through the pre-season. Maybe probably more 60-40, maybe to 70-30. And then, kind of we played against Freo over there. And I think just going back, having a week at home, kind of being in season and kind of seeing what it's like, you can't really, I guess, replicate it. But just being back there for a week, I think that was kind of the perfect time for it. I could kind of see exactly kind of what it was like back there, family, mates and all that. And I think the bond that I've created with the boys here at Sydney, not just the last couple of months, but over the last 6 years, I think ultimately that was kind of the deciding factor. And then when I came back from Perth, I think I knew I'd always have a gut feel, and that's when it hit. So I think I just pulled the trigger after that.
Nice, mate.
And then there was the Victorian Autumn Carnival where I delivered again and again and again.
Well, he did say in the group chat, he said if I get a few more, I think it was 2 or 3 winners for the day, and I think you had 4.
Yeah. So I told my mum, I said, look, basically, I've kept him in Sydney.
So pretty much there, I had to sign. I was pretty happy about it anyway.
You're a man, your word. You're a good man. What did you think when you went home? For myself, I go home and I feel like sort of nothing's changed.
Yeah,
the gloss goes off it a bit. I romanticise it a bit when I'm here in Melbourne. I think I can go back to Sydney and hang out with my mates.
100%.
It's great,
I think that was one of the things I realised was like I was still when I go back, I will still love it to bits as well. But I think that's like you said, when all my like your mates are working and you're like, oh, it's probably not actually what you think it's going to be, and yeah, that's probably it really.
It's probably more what you think is going to be if you don't go, and then you go like the Chad's coming in 3 weeks at the weekend, and everyone's available. Versus you live there like, mate, I've got 2 kids and a job, buddy. I'm not. I'm not doing trivia on Thursday night in the pub. You fucking idiot. I've got.
Yeah, you're exactly right.
Yeah.
Nice, mate. Anything else on the footy, boys? We'll touch on the outside of footy.
Biggest influence when you were younger, like becoming a younger man before you got into the professional realm. Who were the bigger influences in your life?
I think probably most people would say the same thing, but Dad, 100%, was like huge for me. I think the way he was able to drive myself, Corey, Ashton, and Troy, which Ashton and Troy at the moment, but myself and Corey, to a level that we really wanted to drive ourselves to. I think he noticed from a young age that that's what we wanted to do, was play AFL, and then I think from there was really healthy with it, driven us to the point where he knew, I guess, what you needed to do, but was never over involved, never over the top, where I guess it kind of pushed you away from it maybe. And he always knew what our capabilities were and kind of pushed you to that limit. And I think even now he just watches, never gives me any advice on how to play, just watches, asks how you going, and just supports from the sideline.
Pre-game rituals, superstitions?
Pre-game ones is home game, go for a swim. Other than that, I don't really like to think about much, to be honest. Going to the game, I just like to chill out, and whatever happens will happen on the day.
Outside of footy, what interests you? What do you do?
Well, yeah, I guess big on racing.
But you're not just a punter. You're not just like chasing a bet. You seem to me like you're passionate about the industry as a whole.
Yeah, 100%. I think that, again, also stemmed from Dad. He was huge. I think when he is in Victoria, he used to do equestrian. I think it started there. And then he loves his breeding, loves his thoroughbreds as well. And I think just the animal in general really interests me. Obviously, being an athlete myself, but I think the breeding side and kind of the ownership thoroughbred side is the biggest interest of mine at the moment, and been able to be fortunate enough to do a bit of work with Coolmore and Inglis at the sales.
How many you got now?
I think about
Horses.
5. About 5. I actually just picked up another one maybe a month or so ago. Michael Lane again at Autumn Sun. We've just named her Autumn Gem. So I'm very keen about her.
Nice. Dicko's mailbag not getting a run either. He's fun about that.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that.
Yeah, well, I haven't bought one with the mailbag yet.
I mean, how many winners do I need to tip? But anyway, we'll sort that out later. So what do you do to like further that interest, or do you not worry about it? Is it just an outlet for now, and the absolute focus and priority is maximising yourself as a footballer?
No, I think coming into the stage I'm at the moment and having a few years under my belt now, I think I've realised that stuff outside footy can really have a big part in your life. And as much as I'm putting most of my effort into footy and probably all of it, I think this other side of really enjoyed kind of having a balance and a bit more of an outlet, and I guess kind of working towards something after footy, and having kind of more of that establishment in the team, it really helps you with that, I reckon.
Someone that people wouldn't know, Chatty, is you do a bit of work experience with Stoddy, a guy at the club, bit of accountancy and stuff. Talk us a bit about that, how you got into that, and something that you enjoy outside of footy as well, life after footy, bit of accounting. Love you.
I'm actually at his holiday house at the moment too, so thanks, mate. But he's a fund manager up in the city, 1851 Capital, so if anyone wants to invest, there it is. But yeah, he pretty much just does invest in small cap companies, usually around, anywhere from probably 50 million to $1 billion dollars market cap. So I love been doing that the last year or so. I think once again, like I was saying before, with that outlet, it just gives you another one, and the amount that he's taught me is honestly priceless, and I don't think I could have learnt that anywhere else.
And he's smart, Dicko. Where's he a member, Chatty?
At the Australian. So I get 3 games there too, which is great.
Yeah, like spreading it around. Yeah, Bonnie. Yeah, beat Don Pye 42 points.
What was that?
When I beat Don by a point, I had 42 that day.
Yeah.
And I had 42, Chatty. That was like the last...
At the Australian.
Bonnie
No.
Boone. And the last sort of
yeah,
9 to 11 of those points I had to do whilst the greatest small forward the Swans ever seen was having a tantrum. Like once the toys were out, once he couldn't win, the toys were well and truly out of the cot. So I had to deal with that and still got it done.
As they always are.
Yeah. I reckon that's probably heaps.
That's good,
Yeah.
You want to wrap it up, Tommy?
Yeah. Thanks, Chatty. It's a great insight to what sort of makes a really good AFL player. I think you can go around and be an average AFL player or really put your mind to it and do things outside of footy. So anyone that's wants to be the best, you got to go outside and do other things to be your best. So great insight to footy and also outside of footy with your outlets of racing and investment stuff, mate. So thanks for coming on.
I reckon
thank you.
the takeaway is that it's like life. You got to figure out your edge and smash it. And you've done that, and you're doing it, and you re-signed for 2 years. And may God bless us all. Thank you very, very much for doing that. And thank you for coming on the show. That'll do us. Early Crow Tom, episode 71.
71.
Thanks,
Bye for now.
guys.